Welcome to Tuesday morning Zoom. It's time to get back up and running for 3 weeks, and then we're out for 2. So our Christmas break will be from December the 20th to January the 3rd. So that is my vacation time. I look forward to it every year. I don't really take vacations. I did go to Georgia, but usually I just wait until Christmas time, because by the time Christmas time hits, everybody needs a break. Do you guys have your ICD-10s handy?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to be going through and doing is I am going to be doing a little lecture on chapter 2, even though I know the exam was yesterday and it kind of fell in a different spot. So I want to be able to kind of go back through and kind of give some, just talk about a few things. One of the other things that I want everybody to be aware of is that we have several days at the end of this module to go back and review. So I know that some of these chapters we went through fairly quickly. I left it that way because I know y'all are ready to get to the coding. So I was trying to rush past that part to get to the coding. So we'll have lots of time to go back and review and do extra coding and things like that towards the end, at the end of our module. So we'll be doing that here after we get back from the new year to the new 2022. Y'all, I remember 1989. That's when I graduated high school. I'm getting old. So, all right. Well, you know what comes next. Zoom slideshow. So, we're doing chapter 2. And like I said, this is just kind of a little review chapter, hitting a couple of things that I think that maybe got overlooked, or I hope it didn't get overlooked, but just kind of hit some high points. So we're going to talk about essential and non-essential modifiers. Okay, so those of you that have been with me for a while know that there are CPT modifiers. These are different. So these are actually words and sentences, or in terms. So some modifiers cannot be removed from a sentence without changing the sentence, meaning these are called essential modifiers. A modifier that adds extra information but does not change a sentence or a noun, which means it's called a non-essential modifier. So if you take out a word and it changes the meaning of that sentence, it is an essential modifier. If you take something out of the sentence and it doesn't change the definition, then it's non-essential. So we're going to talk about the brackets that you see in ICD-10. ICD-10-CM uses parentheses to enclose supplementary words or explanatory information. These terms are recognized as non-essential modifiers, which is used to indicate that terms in parentheses are included in the code, but do not need to be listed in the diagnosis. Okay, so that's a lot of words. So what I did is I went and found us a little YouTube video on it. And it's only 1 minute and 33 seconds, so.
Now we're going to talk about non-essential modifiers. You need to know this because you can mess up your coding if you don't understand this. When you are given a main term like pneumonia, so everybody find pneumonia in your book. Once you find pneumonia, you will see that there are many terms after pneumonia that are in parentheses. Many terms. All these are called non-essential modifiers. They will not change your code of pneumonia, which is 486. So you can have congestive pneumonia, acute pneumonia, and so on. Any of these things, if the doctor gives you this as a diagnosis, you code 486. Now, once you get out of this parentheses, it again goes into with influenza, you can see it's a different code. Due to avian flu, that's a different code. So the only ones that won't change the code, that's why they're called non-essential modifiers, is in here. But if you're given this diagnosis, you don't code any further.
Ugh. Y'all know these things give me a fit every time. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but if you would have looked really, really close at those codes, there were ICD-9 codes.
Mhm.
But I just like the way she explained that. Her wordage and the way that she presented that to me made it very, very clear. I hope did that clear up the understanding of what non-essential modifiers are in reference to coding. In the parentheses, it was pneumonia, but in the parentheses, all of those were non-essential modifiers. And it was just a list of all the different things that go under the pneumonia category. So, if it was anything else due to avian flu or anything else, you'd have to continue to go down. But since it was listed in that one section in the parentheses, you knew that you didn't have to go any further.
Now, when the doctor puts in the code, or I mean, writes out the code or whatever, is he going to have the word acute in parentheses, or is it just something we pick up on?
He's not going to have it in parentheses. He's probably just going to write acute pneumonia. He may just write in pneumonia, but that code would be fine. You know, it covers a huge range of pneumonia. But if it was like pneumonia due to avian flu, like she just showed, he's definitely going to write that. But that you know, where all those parentheses were, that's just the basic.
So in other words, for the pneumonia to be coded in another code, say like you have the flu brought on the pneumonia, and you would code it differently than just pneumonia?
Yes.
Okay.
So you just, and he's going to put due to D/ and then he'll put something else.
Okay.
Sorry, I have an eye itch. Okay, so we're going to go on past that. Okay, you might recognize this from your book, but I thought we would go through it together. We're going to decide if these are essential or non-essential modifiers. So Otis externa. So we remember Otis from Otis Media, right? When we coded that, and we had to use media. So externa is an essential modifier. Number 2, acute. Do you guys think this is essential or non-essential?
Non-essential.
Non-essential.
It's actually essential.
Wow.
Because acute and chronic are very specific.
Yes.
That's okay. These are thought-provoking. Okay, streptococcal nasopharyngitis. Is streptococcal, is it essential or non-essential? And you may want to look in your CPT. I mean, your ICD-10. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to look up streptococcal in the front in the index. Doggone it, I'm just dropping everything, y'all. Hang on. Now I'm gonna fall out of my chair. Gracious alive. Can y'all see me?
No,
Right off
is that a good thing?
Yes, it would have been a comedy show right here. So let's look up streptococcal or nasopharyngitis. Y'all do streptococcal. I'm going to do nasal pharyngitis. So naso is, I don't have nasopharyngitis in here.
Streptococcal keeps saying, well, it says see also condition as a cause of disease classified elsewhere.
Okay, so I did find pharyngitis. So streptococcal is sending you somewhere else, isn't it?
Yes.
So would that make it essential or non-essential?
I would say
Essential.
non-essential.
Yeah,
Non-essential. Yeah, it's non-essential. Okay. Subacute mastitis, essential or non-essential? I would look up subacute and see what it says. I need a bigger book stand. This ICD-10 does not sit well on my book stand.
No, it's big. I got an extra little lap stand besides my table.
It says C condition.
So is that going to be essential or non-essential?
Non-essential.
It's non-essential. Congenital spondylolisthesis.
It says C also condition, and then it's got a couple other ones listed right underneath it.
So that's going to be what?
Non-essential.
No, it's
Well-
actually, I know, that's why I wanted to go over it. I'm going to tell you though, you're not going to really have to choose essential and non-essential modifiers in everyday coding. But I wanted to point this out simply because sometimes when we're coding and it tells us to see this or do that or go somewhere else, it's because we're looking at non-essential modifiers. But congenital is essential. Okay, now that Kelly is real good and aggravated, we're going to go to the next thing. Okay, we're going to talk about placeholder X. Do you guys remember reading about this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, did you understand it?
Not fully.
Not fully, and we're not going to be pros at it until we actually start coding these. But placeholder X has to go in the place if you need an additional character. Now, you see the character A. I'm going to go a couple of slides. These are 7th characters, and you'll apply a 7th character to these codes from the following list. You would do A, which is the initial encounter, D, subsequent encounter, G, subsequent encounter, and delayed healing. They all say something a little bit different. K is subsequent encounter for fracture with non-union. P, subsequent encounter for fracture with malunion, and S is sequela. So looking at it right there, you're going to see, you're going to use this in the fractures more than you're going to anywhere else. So can you guys go ahead and turn, y'all have the 2020 ICD-10 or 2021?
2021.
Yes, I've got the 2020, and so I can't give y'all the, but I want you to go to ICD-10 code SO2.0 and just hold there for a minute. Let me know when you're both there, and then I'm going to go back, and I'm just kind of preparing you for something doing this.
I'm there.
You there, Miss Elise?
No,
Okay, it's all right. Kelly, what page?
1251.
1251, almost passed it up. Okay, I'm there.
Okay, so the X placeholder has two functions in the ICD-10. First, it is used with some codes as a placeholder for future code expansion. It holds the data field to be able to place a numeric character if the definition of the code is expanded and updates to the code set. So it's going to give you extra information. And it's also going to allow for future expansion of our ICD-10. Boy, we don't need it to get much bigger. We're going to have a tow truck to tote it around, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I'm going to, oh goodness, sorry, y'all. I'm going to move to the next slide. Okay, this is where I told you to go to SO 2.0, which is fracture of vault of skull.
Mhm.
Okay, in front of that code, you see a stop sign, right?
Mhm.
Right,
Before that stop sign, what do you see?
Next.
and that's,
That means you're going to have a placeholder. If you use your little key at the very bottom of your page, it says X assign placeholder. So let's say that we have a fracture of the vault of the skull and it's an initial encounter. Our code is going to be SO 2.0. What's got to be our next digit or letter?
An X.
An X. Then our next one's going to be
Another X and then an A.
another X and then A. So it would be SO 2.0 XXA. And the reason for that is that letter, that extra information that you're going to want to give has to be the seventh character. So if you have to use A, B, D, G, K, or S, and you have the little X on the side, it automatically should indicate to you that you have to use a placeholder there.
okay.
Does that make it a little more clear?
Yeah, somewhat.
Well, we're going to be doing some of these, so it's okay. I just want to kind of give you some basic information so that you'll remember. Okay, let's do another one. So let's look at SO 1.95. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. An open bite of unspecified part of the head. And let's use sequela, the S. And I've got to write it down because I got to count it. So if that's what we were going to use, we would use SO 1.95. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have to use an A, and then we have to put, an X, sorry. We have to use an X, and then we have to do an S because that S has to be the seventh character. So it's going to be SO 1.95 XS. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's 2 digits after the point, right?
Yeah.
So then there's only one other X.
Yes. You know what I do, Kelly, is I draw 6 lines or 7 lines and I just fill them in so that I know that I have the right number, or I go
That
back
makes
and
sense.
count. I know it's probably a pretty remedial way of doing things, but
Hey, no, that works.
that's what works for me. I mean, it's kind of looks like a hangman sometimes on my paper, but that's how I make sure that I have the correct amount of digits. Okay, so I'm going to tell you these 3 letters are used most often as your extra information. The initial encounter, that's the active phase of treatment. subsequent encounter, and that is care that is performed after the active phase of treatment, such as rehabilitation. And S is sequela, which is a funny little word, is a complication that arises from an injury. I told you I was just going to hit a couple of points, and I just felt like those were important. Did I make it a little more clear for you?
Yeah, on the X's, definitely. I'm still gonna work on the essentials.
Yeah, I'm kind of like,
The one thing I don't want you to be is I don't want you to be scared of it, because when we're taking baby steps into doing big coding. So believe me, we're going to get into these because we're going to cover this whole chapter, because a lot of this is used just in, there's other sections, but not very many, but you're going to find these in the fractures. And just a heads up, fractures are my least favorite. Everybody gets a broken something, I know, but some of these can be kind of complicated, but we can do it together. I also want to point out that if you guys are having trouble coding something, or it's giving you trouble, I want you to star it or highlight it in your workbook or make a note so that we can look at that when we do Zoom together. We'll pull out the workbook and we'll take a look at it and see what's going on, because this workbook is such great information, and it's our biggest practice, right?
Right.
And even if it's in the review, just let's talk about it. So assignment, S sequela. I want you to write a scenario where you would use the S for sequela. And you know what's funny? When I say that word, I can hear other coders that did orthopedics on the other side of the room saying, yeah, that's a sequela. And I used to think, what is that? Because we didn't use that in cardiology. So very rarely, I never used it in cardiology. So it's a funny word. So I never knew what it meant until I started doing this, and I was able to dig into lots more things. I've learned so much since I've been instructing this. So
what do you want us to do with it again?
Write a scenario in which you would use sequela. Do we have any questions or anything, ladies? Anything we need to discuss? Grades are looking great. We have a few, but let's say 97%. So I am so proud of you guys. I appreciate your hard work, and we're just going to keep working for it. She works hard for the money. I don't know why. Y'all know me. I just bust out in song. My friend Deb, and she's the instructor at the Unitech here in Alexandria. She says I have a song for everything. I don't know. I just do. All right. Well, enjoy this absolutely beautiful day. Let me know if I can do anything to help you, and I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.